Hey, welcome back. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to do a human versus AI efficiency test in the Model Y. We're going to do some city streets, about a 10-mile loop, and we're going to see which is more efficient, me or the AI, as in Autopilot. So if I use Autopilot the whole time, is it going to be more or less efficient than if I drive it myself? I am anticipating that I'm going to be more efficient at driving the vehicle, especially because of the starts and stops in this city driving test. I expect that I would be able to do that smoother. So I am going to give the advantage to the computer because I'm going to take the first drive, and that is on a cold battery. So it will be a little bit more warmed up, and the tires will be a little bit more warmed up for the Autopilot to see if it does better. Let's check it out, see which one is better. If you like these videos, please make sure you give it a thumbs up. Helps others find this content, as well as if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We're working hard on getting to 1,000 subscribers, and I could really use your help. So let's get to it. All right, so I do have a little bit different camera setup today. Hopefully it's a little bit better position there to get a better view of both the screen as well as the street. Trying to get both in that one shot there as much as possible. So here we are starting out, and looks like the tire pressure is at 40 and 41 psi, so should be able to get a little bit higher. I don't know if it's going to change a whole lot. Again, we're just doing just some side streets here. We're not going to be doing the interstate where it would get really warm, but I do expect the battery to warm up a little bit as we drive around. Should be at least getting a little bit better, more efficient with that battery. We did start with a cold battery at 80%, so that's a good starting point. And here we are, this right now, just getting out of the neighborhood. Obviously we're starting out with really high efficiency. I'm not going to actually track it until we get on the street, and I will reset here the efficiency so we can see how well it does with no autopilot versus autopilot, or human versus AI. Alright, so here we go. Getting out on the street. Still at 41 psi on the tires, and we're going to go ahead and get up to 45 miles per hour and reset. Trip meter here at 45 miles per hour right here. And like I said, we'll keep track of the watt hours per mile here, doing this first run with no autopilot engaged. Gonna see how efficient we can be just driving around, and then I'll do the same route again with autopilot engaged as much as possible. We do not have full self-driving beta, so we cannot do autopilot through turns, but I will re-engage it after each turn so that we get a good test of all of the, well, first of all of the straight roads that we go on, but also through any intersections where we do not make a turn. The start and stop will be controlled by autopilot, so that'll be a good test of the efficiency of autopilot versus human driving. Alright, we're right at the halfway mark, and we're at 173 watt hours per mile. Pretty good, I think. And we are trying to stick around 5 miles over the speed limit. Of course, if other cars get in the way, gotta slow down a little bit. And I'm actually trying to make sure that while driving myself, I do keep up the pace as much as possible, because I do know that if I obviously drive a lot slower, it's going to be a lot more efficient. So I'm going to try to keep up this speed, stay at least 5 over the speed limit when cruising along, so that hopefully it takes about the same amount of time to do the same route. That will be a good indication that it's a fair test. Obviously, traffic's going to be different each time, so can't be perfect in that respect. And I would probably like to do the same test on the interstate sometime, because that would be a lot more controlled. Coming up on, we're going to call it right up here at this intersection. We've got 227 watt hours per mile after 12 minutes and 9.3 miles. Resetting it right there, turning it on autopilot. So now we're going to see how autopilot does on that same route. Should be around 9.3 miles. Hopefully we'll get the same amount of distance, and hopefully it'll be about the same amount of time. But we will check that at the end and make sure that we are close. Tires did not warm up at all, so it has not been enough driving to really warm up the tires. Haven't been going fast on the interstate or anything like that, so no difference there. But the battery should be a little bit more warmed up because we have been using it. And again, I did try to stick with at least 5 over the speed limit as much as possible when driving myself, because autopilot is going to be set to 5 over exactly, so it's going to hold that speed through all the intersections, and as long as there's not somebody in front of us, it's going to hold that 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. So again, I do have to disengage autopilot through each intersection because it does not make turns on autopilot through city streets because I do not have the FSD. But as soon as I get on the street again and it's available, I'm going to turn autopilot back on and see how it does. 50% of the drive, and actually not doing too bad. We were at around 170 watt hours per mile, similar to what we were before when I was driving and not using autopilot at all. So actually kind of surprised that it has been as efficient as that. Oh no, I'm getting a little nervous here. It looks like Autopilot might have done better than me. Let's see, we gotta get over this hill though. We gotta get over this hill. Still got 0.4 miles left. Definitely want to get that same. And it's slower. It is slower. It's interesting. I don't know. I mean, maybe I didn't. Why is it trying to stop for this? There's no stop sign there. That's annoying. All right. 9.3. Come on. Looking for 9.3. 9.3, 219 watt hours per mile, 13 minutes. I'm pretty sure Autopilot beat me. It was more efficient on Autopilot than it was with just me driving. So, that's not what I expected at all. I actually expected to be much more efficient, trying to lose speed up the hills and gain speed down the hills, slow down slowly and speed up slowly. It was about the same amount of time. Maybe a little bit slower, actually, on Autopilot. But surprisingly enough, the efficiency was better on Autopilot than human driving. Interesting. And to my surprise, it was actually Autopilot win on this efficiency test. It's not over yet. I'm going to definitely do some other tests with the steady state, 60 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour, maybe on the interstate. I'll try some different tests with that, where it's a little bit more controlled as far as the speed in which we're going, as well as be able to do the same amount of distance, same amount of time, and in the same conditions. You definitely take some variables out by doing it on the interstate. It was not a super fair test here on the city streets, as obviously the traffic is going to be different from one route or one time around that route to another. However, that being said, I did try to do the best I could as far as efficiency, and it turns out that Autopilot was actually more efficient than I was at that same route around the same time. And it was a little bit slower, so it did take maybe 1 minute longer to do that same route. 9.3 miles, 12 minutes for my drive, and 13 minutes for Autopilot drive. And it was 227 watt hours per mile for my drive and 219 watt hours per mile for Autopilot. So it turns out you shouldn't be worried about, at least from this test, if this test is worth anything, you shouldn't be worried about Autopilot causing a less efficient drive. It does seem to be very good at keeping the efficiency, even though I'm pretty surprised at that, because going up the hill and down the hill, it just pins that same speed the whole time. Usually you want to let off the speed when you go up a hill and maybe let it gain a little bit of speed down the hill, and that usually is more efficient. But turns out with Autopilot, it didn't do a bad job of keeping up the efficiency, at least for this route. Again, I want to test this on interstate, see if we get some better tests of that. But what did you think? Did you think that Autopilot was going to be as efficient or not? I'm kind of surprised. Maybe I'm not a very efficient driver, or at least not as efficient as I thought. So anyway, hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.